I'm Elisa and I am the Scrappy Wife behind scrappywife.com, and today I have a Bible journaling process video for you. I am working in the Greener Grass devotional from By the Well for God, and I am on day 3, the slippery slope, and I will be journaling in Numbers 11, where the Israelites are grumbling against the Lord and really expressing a lot of discontentment despite the fact that he has just saved them from slavery in Egypt. So we'll be taking a look at that. I am working in this beautiful Journal the Word Bible. It's an NIV edition that I just picked up from By the Well for God. It has the most gorgeous cover, and I'm excited to be journaling in a smaller Bible. I love my illustrating Bible. It is awesome, but I was just feeling like I wanted to change it up and journal again in a Bible that I could carry with me. So I picked this one up and I'm excited to give it a try. So I will put you all on fast forward. As always, everything I use will be linked below. Otherwise, let's go. The first thing I'm going to do is start working on the background of the page, and I'm using this Tim Holtz Bricks stencil and my Pixie spray to make sure the stencil stays in place, and I'm blending 3 different colors of ink. I'm using the Spun Sugar, Abandoned Coral, and I believe that it is the Spiced Marmalade, and I'm blending those. Those are not typical brick colors, but they do go with the color scheme of the kit, which is why I chose them. And I wanted to create the impression of a wall, because this whole devotional, or this devotional day, was about kind of the consequences of discontentment and how they really just create barriers in our relationship with God. And so I wanted to use the wall as the representation of those barriers. And you can see I'm just kind of randomly spreading the ink on the page. I'm using those new domed blenders from scrapbook.com. I will link them below. I have been loving them. They are so great for blending. I am not getting those same circles that I used to get all the time with my flat blenders, so I've really been enjoying using them. Of course, there's lots of options. If you use a blush brush, that's another super successful way of getting a really smooth blend. The devotional talks about 6 unintended consequences of discontent, and I'm going to journal those 6 consequences using these floral stamps. This is the flower bed stamp set from By the Well for God, and I'm going to create 6 kind of vignettes or areas on the page where I can do journaling. I've pulled out my archival ink, which works really well on this particular paper from By the Well for God, and you can see me kind of dirtying up the stamp on my arm, and I get a nice crisp image. I will be doing that same pattern with all of the different stamps on the set, all of the larger stamps, and then I go through and fussy cut them out to use them on my page. What you cannot see is that off to the side, I am using my Lawn Fawn stamp chamois to clean stamps after I have stamped it. So it's just off to the side. All you have to do is wet it down, and then I just lay it on my desk and I just stamp off on it, and it does clean it super well. I am not one that takes great care of my stamps. I used to not clean them at all, and then I started just stamping them on a piece of paper, and now I use the Lawn Fawn and it does a really great job. What I love about this particular stamp set, the flower bed stamp set, is the graphic nature of these flowers and the fact that they have really defined edges, so it makes it a little bit easier to fussy cut out. So I do plan to fussy cut all of these out by hand, and I like that the edges are going to be pretty easy to follow. You can see on the pink paper I ended up doing an extra stamp because I didn't get a great impression the first time. Another great reason to do stamping outside your Bible so that you can fussy cut out and you can give it more than one try. Now I've picked some of the leaves from the foliage stamp set that also came out this month, and I'm going to stamp that here on this green paper. I love that the paper is mostly solid and just has hints of this kind of wood background on it. I think that's a lot of fun to work with, and I'm printing or stamping 6 different leaves that I can use in combination with the different florals that I plan to cut out. Once all of my pieces are cut out, I'm going to play with the positioning on these 2 pages. It was fun doing a 2-page spread. It's been such a long time since I've worked in a Bible of this size for Bible journaling purposes, and it took some getting used to. So kind of going in and doing a 2-page spread made it a little bit easier, just a little bit more space to work in. And you can see I'm trying to vary the position of the leaves. It's just 2 different leaves that I stamped, but I don't want it to look super repetitive across my page, so I try to vary the positioning of them. And then I'm gonna just start adhering them onto the page. I'm using my Tombow tape runner just because it's a little bit easier to use on these smaller pieces as I start to adhere them down on the page, and I do get a really good adhesion when I use that tape runner. Now that they're all set, the next thing to do will be to add in some numbers for journaling purposes. But before I do that, once I get that final flower in place, I do go back and trim off the pieces that are hanging over the edge. I have made the choice for this particular Bible. I don't think I'm going to have anything hanging off the edges, including tabs. I would like to bring this Bible back and forth with me to church so I can do some sermon notes. I can use it in my Sunday school class. I teach a group of 5 and 6-year-olds, and I have brought my journaling Bibles in the past, and they really like looking through them and asking questions, and it is just a fabulous conversation starter. So that's what I plan to do with this one, and it's just easier if nothing is hanging off of the page and nothing gets damaged. So I'll try to keep it all within the within the boundaries of the page layout. Now, this is where I'm going to come with this Tim Holtz set to my left. I'll link it below, and I use the numbers in the set because they're big, bold numbers, and I have my VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is my favorite ink to stamp with, but it has been so long since I've worked in a journaling Bible that I forget that this does bleed through. And so you'll see later I'll flip through and it does bleed just a little bit. It doesn't really concern me because I will be able to cover it up on the other side, but just a reminder, if you are working in kind of a more standard journaling Bible like this as opposed to the illustrating Bible, the VersaFine Onyx Black ink will bleed through. I love how bold these numbers turned out. Like I said before, the devotional covers 6 ways that discontentment affects your faith, or 6 kind of ramifications of living a life of discontent. And so this gives me space to write all of those out and have them right here within my Bible, within the story. I have a white Jelly Roll pen here, and I'm just using it to add a few highlights to these numbers. It doesn't really show up well here on the camera, but it does help them stand out a bit more from the flowers that they're on. And so just a little bit of highlight, a little bit of detail work. Sometimes it's fun to just go through and see what tiny details you can add to a page. We're all about the big focal points and things like that, but the details really can matter and make a difference in your layout as well. Here's where I flip over to check out how much bleed through I got. The Distress ink actually did not bleed through, and it tends to not when you're just blending it on lightly, but of course that VersaFine did bleed on through, and no big deal. I'll be able to work around it when I journal on those other pages. So this is the new Brush Stroke Alpha, and if you are a stamper like I am, you're going to love this. And by that I mean, if you are a stamper that sometimes struggles with getting a really crisp image, then these are perfect for you because they are not meant to be crisp, which is what I loved about them. So I'm building my word backwards, and actually the word I want to stamp out is the word building, and I'm going to add the title Building Walls of Discontent, which is kind of what I mentioned before. The more discontent we are, it kind of builds walls in our relationship with God instead of breaking them down. So I put my mat right behind my page to try to get a flat surface, and then I'm coming in here at the top with the first half of the word building, and again using my stamp chamois there on the side to clean off those stamps. I'll put them back on the block and then finish off that word. I don't know about you guys, but I often build my words backwards, just like I did with this word, especially when it's going to be right justified, like it is on this page. It just helps me grasp the spacing that I'm going to need. And so don't always think that you have to build from the beginning of the word. Even if you need to place the middle of the word, you know you want your middle letter to be a certain place, we'll start with that middle letter and work out from there. That makes it just a little bit easier, and when you're working with stamps, it's pretty easy to do that and work around how you want to build that word out. So I have the word building. I'm going to come back with the word wall. I just have to clean it off and do that last little part, adding the walls, the L and the S, and then the stamping part will be done for that page. I love this alpha set. It's a really good size, even in the smaller Bible. It's great for titles, and even with the VersaFine Onyx Black ink, because it was kind of a brush style, you can still read the words underneath it. You can see I added the words of using my Tile Alpha stickers, and then I come back with these clear alpha stickers that coordinate with the kit, and I'm going to add the word discontent. And what's great about these clear alpha stickers is that you can still read underneath them. So I can still read the story of the Israelites grumbling, I can still read God's response, and I still have my title on the page. That's kind of visually striking when I turn to that page. So I like that they are transparent in that way. The bulk of my page is done. I'm coming back to add the journaling and the 6 ways that discontentment can build walls or break down your relationship with God. And those ways are creating an internal dissatisfaction with God and His provision. Discontent fixates on the now and ignores the eternal. Discontent involves comparison with others, which is something that I struggle with. Discontent causes us to believe lies about God. Discontent takes away our hope in the future. And discontent fails to see God's master plan. So it was awesome to be able to get those notes from the devotional down in my Bible. And I ended up deciding I did want to pray about it, because these are things that I do struggle with and things that I can see in my life kind of manifesting. And so I wanted to pray about it. I pulled out this library card that was one of the bonus goodies when you ordered this kit if you were in the first 100 orders. So I'm loving the library card. I just want to embellish it a little bit. So I have this pinwheel stamp from another stamp set from By the Well for God, and I'm again just fussy cutting out those pinwheels. I'll add them to the side of the library card just to give it a little extra flair, just some fun spring feels. And once those are on there, then I'll just be able to add my own prayer journaling, asking God to just change my discontented heart and just apologizing for the discontent I feel at times, even when God is blessing me abundantly. So again, using the tape runner, getting those attached. I just like this tape runner sometimes for smaller pieces. I'm still enjoying my glider gun, and it is working great for larger pieces. But when I'm doing detail work, these smaller pieces, it's a little bit easier using the smaller tape gun. You can see me getting it on my desk there. That's just what I do, just a messy crafter. Trimming off the extra pieces, going and adding a little bit of journaling right there with my Micron pen. Works great on these library cards. And then I'll end up attaching it to the page with a paper clip from my stash, and this layout is done. Let me know below what kind of Bible you're journaling in. Are you in the big illustrating Bible? Do you like using a smaller Bible like this? Are you an interleaved kind of gal? Let me know. I would love to hear below and just kind of see where everyone's at. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider hitting that subscribe button as well as the bell notification button. Also, I have a link to my new email newsletter below. I send out an email every couple of weeks with organization tips and scrappy fun, so check that out. I hope you have a fantastic day, and as always, keep it creative.